The Secret Diaries, Chapter 4. Have you ever wondered why some days everything feels easier and other days even small things feel heavy? That is exactly what Chapter 4 explores. If Chapter 3 was about how to use the law of attraction, Chapter 4 is about how to make it stronger. This is the part where Rhonda Byrne basically says, okay, you understand that thoughts matter, but your feelings, they matter even more. Chapter 4. Powerful Processes. The main idea of this chapter is simple. Your emotions are the real magnet. Gratitude and visualization are the tools that raise your emotional energy. When I first read that, I thought, wait, so it's not enough to just think positive thoughts? Apparently not. Byrne explains that the universe doesn't respond to your words. It doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to how you feel. And that made me pause, because if I'm being honest, I've said I want beautiful, big things in my life while secretly feeling stressed, doubtful, impatient, or even slightly scared they won't happen. According to this chapter, that emotional mix sends a very mixed signal. And here's the part that really caught me. Byrne suggests that the universe is like a mirror. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't analyze your intentions. It simply reflects your dominant emotional state. So if I say I trust life, but I feel anxious underneath, life responds to the anxiety. If I say I'm ready for abundance, but I feel lack, it reflects lack. Suddenly, it didn't sound mystical. It sounded almost logical. It's like placing an online order, but emotionally clicking the wrong item, then being surprised when that's what arrives. When that image came to my mind, I laughed, and then I realized I've probably been clicking the wrong emotional buttons for years. When Byrne talks about gratitude, she calls it the great multiplier. She says that when you are grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. At first, I thought, okay, yes, gratitude, we've all heard that before. But then I realized something uncomfortable. I often postpone gratitude. I think, I'll be grateful when this works out. I'll relax when everything is settled. I'll feel happy once I see results. Chapter 4 flips that completely. It says, feel grateful now, not later, now. That was challenging because it means I can't wait for proof before I allow myself to feel good. I have to choose that emotional state first. And when I tried it, even in small ways, I noticed something interesting. My day felt lighter. Nothing magical fell from the sky, but my internal tension softened, and that changed how I reacted to everything else. Then comes visualization. The law of attraction responds to your thoughts, whether they are about what you want or what you don't want. And that hit me because I realized I am very good at visualizing things going wrong. I rehearse worst-case scenarios like it's a hobby. So technically, I've been visualizing for years, just not in the direction I prefer. Visualization in this chapter isn't about pretending or escaping reality. It's about emotionally experiencing your desire before it physically arrives. She asks a powerful question. How would you feel if you received it? And that question stayed with me because when I answered honestly, I realized I'm often waiting for external permission to feel relieved, confident, secure, joyful. Why am I waiting? That's the deeper shift in this chapter. It's not about forcing outcomes. It's about emotional alignment. If I want peace but constantly feel stressed, that's mixed energy. If I want love but feel unworthy, that's mixed energy. The universe doesn't respond to the sentence, it responds to the signal. And that realization was both empowering and slightly uncomfortable because it means I'm not just observing my life, I'm participating in it emotionally every single day. Did I understand everything immediately? No. Did some of it feel almost too simple? Yes. But did it make me more aware of how often I rehearse stress instead of trust? Absolutely. Gratitude is a multiplier. In this part of the chapter, Rhonda Byrne makes something very clear. Gratitude is not optional in the law of attraction, it's essential. She says, gratitude is the great multiplier. When you are grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. At first, I was like, okay, yes, gratitude. We've all heard this 100 times. Keep a gratitude journal, say thank you, be positive. It almost felt too basic. But then I realized she's not talking about polite gratitude. She's talking about emotional gratitude, the kind you actually feel in your body. She explains that gratitude isn't something you practice after life becomes perfect. It's something you practice before. And that's where it got interesting for me. Because if I'm honest, my usual pattern was, I'll be grateful when this works out. I'll relax when everything is finished. I'll be happy when I get that result. Basically, I was postponing gratitude. I was treating it like a reward at the end of the journey. Chapter 4 flips that completely. It says, be grateful first. The rest follows. Whatever you focus on expands. If you focus on what you already have and genuinely appreciate it, you attract more things to appreciate. But if you focus on what's missing, what's delayed, what's not enough, you attract more lack. That part made me slightly uncomfortable, not because it sounded wrong, but because I recognized myself in it. I noticed how often I mentally scan my life for what still needs fixing. Even when things are objectively good, my mind likes to say, yes, but... And according to this chapter, that yes, but is powerful. There's also something Byrne emphasizes that really stayed with me. Gratitude dissolves negativity. She suggests that you cannot feel deep gratitude and fear at the same time. They don't coexist easily. And when I tested that idea, I realized it's kind of true. On days when I intentionally listed things I was grateful for, my health, my baby growing safely, quiet mornings, supportive people, even coffee. Yes, coffee absolutely counts. I felt calmer, more grounded, less dramatic. Nothing huge changed externally, no fireworks, no instant miracles. But my internal state shifted, and that's when I started understanding what multiplier might mean. Maybe gratitude multiplies not just things, but perception, mood, resilience. I also noticed something else. When I consciously choose gratitude, I feel more in control. Not in a controlling way, but in a grounded way. It feels like I'm participating in my life instead of reacting to it. Gratitude doesn't magically erase problems. It doesn't mean you ignore challenges or pretend everything is perfect, but it changes your focus. And when your focus changes, your emotional energy changes. And if this book is right, your emotional energy is what shapes your experience. I'm still experimenting with this. I'm not walking around in constant bliss. Some days I forget, some days I complain. But I can honestly say this, feeling grateful feels better than feeling frustrated. And even if someone doesn't fully believe in the law of attraction, practicing gratitude still improves your inner world, and that alone already feels powerful. Visualization. Seeing it before it happens. The second powerful process in this chapter is visualization, and this is where things started to feel a little mystical for me. Byrne says, see yourself living in abundance and you will attract it. Create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life. She explains that visualization means imagining your desire as if it has already happened, not wishing, not hoping, not begging, but mentally stepping into it like it's already real. At first, I honestly didn't fully get this. I thought, so I just sit there and pretend? It felt a bit silly, almost childish, like I was playing make-believe. But then she explained something really interesting. Your brain doesn't clearly separate real experiences from vividly imagined ones. When you imagine something in detail, your body responds. Your heart rate can change, your mood shifts, your emotions activate. And that's the point. The law of attraction responds to emotion. So if you visualize your dream life and genuinely feel excitement, peace, gratitude, your body starts producing those emotions now. And those emotions are the magnetic signal. What really made me think was this. The law responds to your thoughts, whether they are about what you want or what you don't want. So if I constantly imagine worst-case scenarios, I'm still visualizing. I'm just visualizing what I fear. And that was a bit of a wake-up call. Because I am very good at imagining things going wrong, before important conversations, before big decisions, even before small events. My brain loves to rehearse just-in-case disasters. So technically, I've been practicing visualization for years, just not intentionally. Byrne also talks about creating a clear mental picture, seeing the details, feeling it is real, not obsessively, but consistently. She even suggests tools like vision boards, physical reminders of the life you're calling in. That part made me smile. The idea of cutting out pictures and placing them somewhere felt both cute and strangely powerful. So one evening, I decided to actually try it properly. I closed my eyes and imagined something specific I deeply want in my future. I tried to see it clearly, where I am, what I'm wearing, how I feel, who is around me. At first, my mind immediately interrupted. Yeah, but what if it doesn't happen? Be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. Very supportive inner voice. I realized how conditioned I am to protect myself from disappointment. Hope feels risky sometimes. But I stayed with it for a few minutes longer, and something subtle shifted. I felt a small spark of excitement, a little calm confidence, and that feeling felt real, not forced, not fake. And I started to understand what it means. Visualization isn't about lying to yourself. It's about training your emotional state. It's about getting comfortable with the feeling of already having what you desire instead of constantly rehearsing the fear of not getting it. It's not enough to visualize once and forget it. It's about returning to that vision, strengthening it, allowing it to feel natural. That part made me reflect deeply. What feels natural to me right now? Stress? Worry? Doubt? If those emotions feel normal, then maybe I've been practicing them more consistently than optimism. Visualization in this chapter is about shifting what feels normal. Instead of normalizing fear, normalize success. Instead of normalizing lack, normalize abundance. Instead of normalizing anxiety, normalize calm expectation. I'm still learning this. Some days it feels empowering. Other days it feels uncomfortable, like I'm stretching beyond my current identity. But one thing is clear. Even if nothing external changed immediately, visualizing made me more aware of my inner dialogue. And honestly, that alone already feels like growth. But after a few minutes, something shifted. I started to feel a tiny spark of excitement, and that feeling was actually nice. Visualization isn't about escaping reality. It's about training your emotions. It's practicing the feeling of already having what you want instead of constantly practicing worry. And that made me realize something uncomfortable again. I am very good at visualizing worst-case scenarios. So technically, I've been visualizing for years, just not in the direction I wanted. That realization was both funny and slightly tragic. Feel it now, not later, with what the book actually says. The biggest message of Chapter 4 in The Secret is simple but powerful. Don't wait to feel good. Don't wait for the job. Don't wait for the relationship. Don't wait for the money. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Feel the joy. Feel the gratitude. Feel the peace now. Byrne puts it very clearly. Your feelings are your point of attraction. That line stuck with me because it flips the usual logic. We think circumstances create feelings. I get the job, I feel happy. I solve the problem, I feel calm. I receive the result, I feel secure. But the chapter suggests the reverse. Feel first, attraction responds, circumstances shift. She also writes, what you think and what you feel and what actually manifests is always a match. That made me think, if manifestation, or results, if we speak practically, is a match to my dominant feelings, then my emotional state matters just as much as my actions. And honestly, that feels both exciting and challenging. It's exciting because it means I have influence. I'm not completely powerless. I can choose to focus on gratitude. I can choose to feel hope. I can choose to visualize possibilities. But it's challenging because it requires awareness, discipline, emotional responsibility. We are used to outsourcing our feelings. I'll be happy when. We place happiness in the future, a reward, a destination. Byrne argues that this delays everything, including how we experience life. She even says, the present is all there ever is. That idea surprised me because I spend a lot of time mentally living in the future, planning, worrying, imagining outcomes. But the chapter invites a different approach. Feel good now, even while things are imperfect. It doesn't mean ignoring problems. It doesn't mean pretending life is flawless. It means choosing your internal state deliberately. Some days that feels natural. Other days it feels difficult. There are mornings when gratitude flows easily. I notice small things, coffee, quiet moments, health, and I feel lighter. And there are days when I wake up stressed, when doubt arrives before breakfast, when the idea of feeling good sounds like a joke. On those days, I literally think, okay, universe, I'm trying. This is hard. And that honesty matters. Byrne doesn't demand perfection. She asks for awareness. She writes, it is impossible to feel bad and at the same time have good thoughts. That line surprised me because it suggests emotions and thoughts are connected. If I feel bad, my thoughts often become negative. If I feel good, my thoughts tend to expand. So the work becomes emotional management. Not toxic positivity, not pretending everything is fine, but gently shifting when possible. I started experimenting with small steps. When I feel overwhelmed, I pause, I breathe. I try to notice one thing I appreciate, even tiny things. A comfortable bed, a message from a friend, a simple meal. It doesn't erase problems, but it changes my focus. And focus, according to this chapter, matters. If I constantly focus on lack, I notice lack. If I focus on possibility, I notice possibilities. That idea made me reflect on how I spend mental energy. I realized I rehearse stress a lot. I imagine worst-case scenarios. I mentally prepare for disappointment. So technically, I have been visualizing for years, just not in a direction that helps me. That realization was both funny and slightly uncomfortable, because it means I already understand the mechanism. I just need to apply it differently. The chapter also emphasizes that this is daily practice, not a one-time exercise, not a magical fix. Awareness, emotional choice, repetition. Some days I succeed, some days I don't. And that might be the honest truth. We are human, we fluctuate, but even small shifts matter. If I feel calmer today than yesterday, that is progress. If I notice my thoughts before they spiral, that is awareness. If I choose gratitude sometimes, that is practice. Byrne's message feels idealistic at times, but also strangely practical. Because whether or not you believe in the law of attraction, one thing remains true. When I feel better, I act better. When I act better, possibilities open. So maybe this chapter isn't asking for perfection. Maybe it's asking for attention. Attention to feelings. Attention to thoughts. Attention to how I experience life. And that in itself feels like a valuable lesson. Final thoughts on Chapter 4. Chapter 4 felt softer than Chapter 3, but deeper. It's not about controlling life. It's about managing your emotional state. Gratitude raises your energy. Visualization strengthens belief. Feeling good now attracts more good. Did I understand everything immediately? No. Did some parts feel almost too simple? Yes. Did it make me think about how often I rehearse negative emotions? Absolutely. This chapter made me realize something important. I already use my emotions every day. I already direct emotional energy, sometimes towards stress, doubt, or worst-case scenarios. So the question became, if I'm already using my emotions, why not use them intentionally? Why not practice gratitude more often? Why not visualize possibilities instead of fears? Why not allow myself to feel good even before everything is perfect? I don't claim to understand the law of attraction completely. I also don't think life is as simple as think happy and everything appears. But I do believe mindset matters. Emotional focus matters. The way we experience life matters. Worst case, I feel a little calmer and more grateful. Best case, I create space for new opportunities. And honestly, that feels like a risk worth taking. What about you? Do emotions shape your life, or are they just in your head? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If this chapter resonated with you, stay with me for Chapter 5. Subscribe so we can keep exploring this journey together. Leave a like if something sparked inside you, and share your thoughts in the comments. I truly want to hear what you felt while reading this. See you in the next one.